Hi, Katelynn Ruth here to talk to you about the final component of my Rube Goldberg design, which was used to take a selfie. So this was the device I actually used and attached my phone to take the selfie. It's a trebuchet of sorts. Well, it used to be a trebuchet, but I've modified it some. So instead of having a big heavy counterweight, which was this weight here, attached up here to the top, I've modified it. But this is how a trebuchet works, in case you're unfamiliar. It has a heavy counterweight attached to the top to give it potential energy, which you then prop up from the base to give it some height. So potential energy is mass times gravity times height. So when you multiply this mass times the gravity times the height it is off of the base, you get a pretty high potential energy. And it's attached and rotates around this pivot point. So when it rotates around the pivot point, when the mass is dropped, it has this washer attached to the other end on a nail. So when it launches, it takes the washer over the top of the trebuchet and into a trash can 10 feet away in uniform circular motion. But I didn't need a big heavy counterweight to launch a washer in this case. So I've instead removed this and the counterweight and used a stylus as my counterweight instead. I've propped this up with a screwdriver to give it some potential energy. So mass times gravity times height. So the mass of my stylus times gravity times my height of the screwdriver is the potential energy. And when the screwdriver is yanked out, the stylus then accelerates downwards, giving it kinetic energy. So your potential energy becomes kinetic energy, and by the time it gets to the other side, my phone is set up at the perfect angle in order for it to hit the button on the camera to take my selfie. So this did work, and how I pulled the screwdriver out is I used some engineering books which I lined up like dominoes, and I had this string taped to one of the books, so when the book fell, when it was standing up, it had potential energy. When it fell, it was converted to kinetic energy, and as it fell, the string, the tension in it increased and pulled it out. So as I can demonstrate this for you, I pull out the screwdriver and it launches and hits my phone to take the selfie. This is also interesting because it's about a pivot point. So we can think of it in terms of kinematics too, or uniform circular motion. So by knowing the launch angle, we can calculate the initial velocity, the acceleration, and the final velocity as it actually hits my phone. So this is a pretty neat setup, and it worked to take my selfie. Along with all of the other steps, they combined and worked properly to execute this idea.